Hello, I'm Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another instrument review for you, and today I have another one of the great Butler Trombones, specifically their C12 bass trombone. Now, of course, I've done a video or two lately talking about their small bore tenors, the lemon drop JJ, the carbon fiber cup mutes that they're doing, and of course I've talked about some of these different models in the years past, but I've not had a chance to really dig in and spend some time talking about the C12 bass trombone. Obviously, this brings so many of the similar advantages to the table as we see with the small bore tenors, with their large bore tenor, etc. But of course, it brings some unique characteristics to the table for bass trombonists as well. Weight and other ideas as well. So I'm excited to play this for you, share that experience. So I'm going to be playing all of this today on a Hammond 19BL mouthpiece. Over the past handful of years, the Butler Trombones, the innovations they're bringing to the table, whether we're talking their outer hand slide work or now their full trombone development in obviously branching into other areas like mutes, etc., has been incredibly exciting to watch. I think it's a very interesting branch of development for the trombone community. And I know certainly we've really enjoyed the opportunity to work directly with David Butler and his team to bring in, so many of the great models, innovations that they've been bringing to the table. So again, I've talked about my experience with the small bore tenor, but the bass trombone, the C12, this has really been, in a lot of ways, a very exciting innovation for the trombone community, for our bass trombone players, bringing a really great combination of extremely lightweight, accessible performance, very ergonomic, while bringing a lot of great playability sound to the table. So a few general specs with it. A lot of the standard bass trombone setup here. So it's a 9.5-inch bell here, you know, in a kind of a standard taper here. Certainly not too big, not too small. It has obviously carbon fiber tuning slides here, a reverse tuning slide on the main tuning slide here. Obviously a 562 bore hand slide utilizing the carbon fiber with their standard crook on the bottom. But then of course combining that with the instrument innovation valve. So this is of course a dual independent setup with the standard F, G flat, D tuning here. And so right off the bat, and by the way, we are using the Edwards number 2 lead pipe. So overall experience with this right away is, well, first off, obviously it is incredibly light. So these come in around 4 pounds, which if you have not done a lot of bass trombone playing, doesn't sound like a huge difference from, you know, some of the other bass trombone offerings. Trust me, once you pick it up, it's a completely different experience in a lot of ways. One of the things I do like about the bass as compared to some of the feedback we get on small bore tenors, and again, small bore tenors are incredibly light. If there is anything that people talk about as far as the overall ergonomics of small bore tenors, it's that they are still a little bit front heavy. Now, David has done some really nice work. He's now offering his satellite counterweight system on the small bore tenors that he's including, so it lets you play around with that weight and that balance further. But of course, with the addition of the valve section on here, I find this to be a very, very well balanced. If anything, it's a little heavy on the backside and the shoulder, which again kind of makes sense, but it sits incredibly comfortably in the hand. Obviously, we have the Williams style grip here, which aids in some of that, and the overall ergonomics of the paddles here, again, feel really good. They feel, for those of you who have played Getzen or Edwards kind of setups, the paddles, everything is going to feel very, very familiar. Now, how does it play? Well, the feedback a lot of times I get on the carbon fiber instruments in general, if they work for somebody, they are incredibly stable. They've got a real warmth to the sound. They've got some really nice core. There's some ability to play around with some of the different colors. If they don't work for somebody, they feel a little dead. They feel like sometimes they're described as being tight, as being resistant. For me, equate a lot of that to the overall properties of the carbon fiber. We've talked about this before. The way I describe it is carbon fiber, although it's incredibly light material, it acts very much like a heavy material, like sterling silver, like solid, nickel silver bells, etc., because like those heavy materials, it is resistant to the vibration, right? It takes more work, more energy to get the material to actually start resonating. Now, if you have that kind of energy, that kind of airflow, and it's not even just about airflow in a lot of cases, not just about putting a lot of air through, but it's about a certain type of compression with the air, a certain amount of presence with it. And again, the best way I can describe it when I think about it is it's a certain type of energy you're putting through the airflow itself. So it's not about speed, it's not necessarily about volume, but it's about the energy itself. And what I tend to find is that for those folks who are putting a little bit more energetic flow through the instrument, these play really well. They tend to come to life. And that's certainly what my experience is with this instrument. What I find is, and again, the more I play these instruments, the more I'm learning kind of what they need with a lot of it. But what I do find with this bass trombone is that when I am being conscientious about that airflow energy, what the vibration I'm putting into the instrument, it's incredibly responsive. As you may know, I'm not a full-time bass trombonist. I don't always have the greatest control in and out of the trigger pedal register, but again, when I feel like I'm putting that energy through, I find it to be, connect very nicely throughout those registers. I have really great control. I find it to be a little bit different than some of the, like for example, the small bore tenors. I find it to be, overall, have that really great, bass trombone. I always call it a little bit of a growl, a rumble to it. There's an energy, a vibrancy to it all the way through. Whether we're talking in the trigger register, getting into the staff, even a little bit above the staff. I found, as you may have heard in a few of the excerpts, as we're getting above the staff, I found it again very responsive. I didn't have to do a lot of manipulation with my embouchure to move between the partials. Everything slotted in really, really nicely, and I didn't feel like I had to change my airflow a lot. One of the things I do find for myself with certain bass trombone setups, as I'm getting above the staff, I have to make some real changes here. I have to compress down quite a bit further to get the responsiveness and really get, maintain some of that similar color up there. I didn't find that I had to do as much of that with this instrument. And again, just the overall control, I felt like it was a really balanced timbre. Even as I was pushing the dynamic, I felt like it was stable. And again, that's part of that, among other things, that's carbon fiber design. Even though you can really bump up the dynamic range with it, it's never going to break. It's always going to have a certain stability. It's going to have a core to the sound. But again, what I liked about it, even as that's happening, it's retaining some of that wonderful vibrancy without getting overly energetic and brilliant and heaven forbid, edgy. I never felt like it would get to that point necessarily. Now, again, all of that being said, it's a very much kind of a player preference with it, and it does take somebody who, again, has more of this energetic airflow happening with it. But if you are somebody who has that kind of approach, there are, again, a ton of benefits with it. And again, this is with an instrument that's coming in at 4 pounds. It's absolutely ridiculous. But beyond just the physical aspect of it, and again, that's a complete game changer. There are really some playing sound attributes to this that I think are really, really fantastic as well. Like the other Butler instruments, it's a great playing instrument, and I think it absolutely deserves a place in that, what I would consider kind of custom level conversation with all of the other great custom level makers out there. So I hope you enjoyed the review here. If you've had a chance to spend time with one of the C12 basses or another one of David Butler's wonderful instruments, please feel free to leave those in the comments. Of course, if you have any questions, anything at all, we'd love to hear about that. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the channel. We'd love to have you as a part of our community. And of course, you can always find the Trombone Shop on Facebook and Instagram. As always, thanks for watching.